Can you see my face? The answer might shock you, and it kind of changed the way I see things. I'll take you to Kathmandu, Nepal to explain if you can see anything at all. These pictures from a traditional buffalo sacrifice were hard for me to take. I ended up there by accident, just following a crowd of locals. At the time, I still wanted to be a photojournalist, and I thought this could be the kind of subject that might help me get there. When the blade rose, my instinct said, take a picture. But as his arms came down, I closed my eyes. When I pressed the shutter again, still with my eyes closed, it was already done. I don't think I could have stood there and watched the knife enter that animal. A little side note, a few years later, I was in Paris with a portfolio of pictures I'd taken in India and Nepal, and from that refugee camp in Burma I spoke about in another video. The art director at Le Figaro magazine said, in India, anywhere you point a camera with a nice light, you'll get a great picture, he said. I didn't agree, but I understood his point. He said, if we send you on assignment, I want to see what you can do with a less photogenic subject. And I don't want to see your print selections, I want to see your contact sheets. So he handed me 2 rolls of black and white film and arranged for a pass for me to photograph the construction site of the new French National Library. I was young, I didn't know anything, but it was a challenge. I spent an afternoon shooting and brought back 2 contact sheets. The next thing I knew, I got sent to Antigua in the Caribbean. At one point, the journalist I was with said to me, why don't you do a shot with this person over there holding that rifle? I did what I was told, but I thought, this isn't the photojournalism I signed up for. There are great photojournalists, but that wasn't going to be me. I just didn't know it yet. In Nepal, I just wanted to photograph people and my experiences. I still wanted to be that photojournalist. I wanted to be like W. Eugene Smith or Dorothea Lange. I was looking for my point of view, but I didn't yet know what my point of view was. That takes time. We often look at something to photograph because it reminds us of something we've already seen, maybe in a movie or in a painting or in someone else's photos. That's normal. What matters is being aware of what you're seeing and why it registers with you. For me, creativity comes in waves. When one passes by and you ride it, you start to develop your own way of seeing. When I first got to Nepal, I kept seeing signs for trekking. I didn't even know what trekking was. I'd never done it. It just means hiking, but trekking sounded a lot better. So I extended my trip by a month. I trekked and I photographed. At night, staying in guest houses with other travelers, everyone in bunk beds, sharing stories. The richer ones had porters and great food. I had garlic soup, which, by the way, was everywhere and was actually delicious. One day, I climbed to about 4,500 meters to get a view of Mount Everest. Apparently, I went up too fast because a few weeks later, I was in a hospital in India with fluid in my lungs. I could have died, apparently. When my visa was about to expire, as it was, I trekked back down to Namche Bazaar and then to Lukla, trying to catch a flight to Kathmandu. They said the flight was delayed because of the wind. I waited for 3 days with a bunch of other travelers at this makeshift airstrip. There were no cell phones then, so we all became friends. When the plane finally left, it still couldn't land in Kathmandu. It was too windy. So we landed in another city. We were told it was only a 12-hour bus ride to Kathmandu. And at the bus station, all the seats were sold, except on the roof. So we all rode all night on top of the bus, ducking under phone lines and electrical cables so our heads wouldn't get cut off. When we arrived in the morning, only 1 bus out of the 2 made it. The 1 bus behind us had swerved off a cliff. Everyone inside was killed. The driver was drinking. After that, I swore I would never take another bus in Nepal again. I changed my bus plans and booked a flight to go to Varanasi in India instead. I had overstayed my visa, so I went to the government office in Kathmandu to ask for an extension. The line went on forever. I just didn't have the patience to wait. So back in the guest house, I had an idea. In those days, after just 1 day in a hostel, you knew everyone. Travelers were like you, nothing to do but talk, walk around, explore, eat cheap food, trade stories. And that was the beauty of traveling then. Real connection. You know, not long ago I was in Ireland and I walked past a youth hostel and I thought, oh wow, this is just like the kind of place I used to stay at. I looked in the window and I saw a bunch of young people all sitting around looking at their phones. Anyway, back in Kathmandu, I asked around the hostel if anyone had gotten a visa extension. The ones who had showed me their passport, so I'd know what the stamp looked like and how to make my own. I wasn't the only one who needed to do a little bit of creative work on an official document. Someone knew exactly where to go to get a rubber stamp copy made to make this paper and stamp, and when I finally left Nepal, I timed it for a Sunday. I thought, well, if the office is closed, they can't call to check. No one checked. Later on, I did something similar at the Laos border, right in front of the policeman. I asked him, can I make the visa thing here? He literally watched me do it and then waved me through. Those were different times. But here's the important part. What I learned in Nepal that changed how I see everything, especially in photography. One day in Kathmandu, I met some international students of Buddhism. They had all come to see a famous Rinpoche. I didn't really know who he was. I had read Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse, and that was about it. Later, I was sitting in front of a stupa on the outskirts of Kathmandu when a young monk sat down next to me. Reddish-brown robe, shaved head, maybe in his 20s. I said hello, but we couldn't speak. We couldn't communicate. So looking for some small talk and basically just name-dropping what I knew, I said, do you know Rinpoche? I couldn't really remember his name at the time, but he smiled and stood up and gestured for me to follow him. We walked for a while, and then to a door. He opened it and motioned me inside. It felt like something out of a Harry Potter film. Dark wood, kind of secret. Inside, I saw around 20 Americans and Europeans who were waiting. The young monk signaled to me to wait and closed the door behind me. About 15 minutes later, an older monk entered, and everybody stood up respectfully, and he said, thanks for waiting. I'm TR. His full name was Thangru Rinpoche, but he just said, call me TR. He spoke English really well. He'd lectured at American University, I later learned, and I also learned he was a very important figure in Tibetan Buddhism. After a little small talk, he looked around the room and he said, very seriously, I want to ask you something. Can you see me? Do you see me? And everyone said yes. And then he said, do you see my face? And everyone said yes. I hesitated because it felt like a trick question, but I said yes too. And then he pointed to his forehead and he said, if you see here, how can you see here? There was a silence. And then he asked, do you see my eyes? And people said no. And he asked me, and I said no. And then he said, do you see my one eye? And everyone said yes. But I said no. And he said, why not? And I said, because if I can see the white part, how can I see the black in the center? In a way, I can't really see anything. Well, he smiled and said, please come with me. We left the room, and I thought I was in trouble for a second, but he was really kind. And he showed me around the monastery. It was this enormous, beautiful place. And he said I was welcome to stay as long as I wanted. I had this bag with me and this camera, but I just couldn't bring myself to take any pictures of this. It felt too sacred. These huge dark wooden rooms, incredible carvings, and we walked into a meditation hall. Dark wood floors with these worn, smooth surfaces. He said, this is where we meditate all morning and in the afternoons. And I realized the floor was not designed like that. The floor had been reshaped and formed by the knees of monks over years and years. Well, I remembered the knee surgery I had after a ski racing accident in Canada. And all I could think was, I would die sitting on that floor like that. I had never meditated before, and I didn't even start until 25 years later, when an artist friend of mine, who happened to be a meditation teacher, offered to show me. She said, I'll teach you on one condition. You have to promise to do it for twice a day for the next year. I kept my promise, but sitting in a chair, not on my knees. Anyway, I thanked Rinpoche, and I declined his offer to stay after some hesitation, but I've never stopped thinking about that moment. I still wonder sometimes how my life would look if I had said yes. Would I be a monk in Nepal today? Perhaps I'd be a guest on a Stephen Bartlett podcast. So, do you see my face? Can I see yours? Do we see anything? That moment, that taught me something. And the answer that I gave him wasn't some spiritual wisdom. For me, it was just logic for a trick question. But it was not a trick. It helped me understand something essential about seeing, how we see things. When we create, whether it's photography, painting, writing, music, carpentry, anything, no two people ever see the same thing in the same way. I've heard it said that no people see the same color exactly the same. We all know what red or blue looks like if you're not colorblind, but your red and my red might not be identical. And that's fine. What matters is that we each see the world in our own way. What I see is not what you see. So when we create, we have to do it for ourselves, because your most important audience is one person, you. Because when somebody else looks at what you're doing, when someone looks at what you've made, you don't know if they're looking here or if they're looking here. So thank you for watching until here. You know what to do. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.